Aloha everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sincerely Alana. Today is going to be the first episode of a new series called Preserving the Culture, and we are highlighting special guest Kamaka Mullen and how he preserves the Hawaiian culture. Hi Kamaka.
Aloha.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So, a little bit about yourself. You're Hawaiian, obviously, right? And how old are you, and when did you come to San Diego? And
So, I'm 33 years old, and I'm Hawaiian, Irish, Filipino, and Chinese. So I'm a mixture, like most of us. And then I was actually born here. So my mom came here when she was 6, because my grandfather inherited land in Sonoma. So he found the people were cold there, and the weather was cold still. So he moved down to San Diego, where people are a little bit warmer, and so is the weather. So
beautiful.
that's how I got here.
Awesome. Have you been back to Hawaii before?
Yeah, I've been there several times. I actually was there in June, so got to visit family. One of my great aunts, she passed away, so it was a celebration of life, but it was a fun event, and it was great to meet all the family and Alooohhha and everything, so yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So, what made you really want to dive into your Hawaiian culture?
It's something I always wanted to get into. I always wanted to either dance Hawaiian and learn the Hawaiian music, learn the language and everything. But for some reason, I always had this mental block that the resources weren't there. But I didn't know that resources are around me all the time. It's there. You just have to look for it and reach out to people and network. So
Definitely. Yeah. No. I feel like that's a lot of blocks that a lot of people have. I know I did as well. One of the things that have really helped me hold on to my culture is reaching out to organizations like the Hui, which you're a member of too. And then also PIFA, and then the other organizations within San Diego. I have those listed on the website. So one of my main goals that I'm trying to do is share that there are the resources out there for us to just take and learn more about ourselves and our culture. So thank you.
Yeah.
So you have a garden.
Yes, I do.
Talk about your garden. I love his garden.
Okay. So a long time ago, I got a nursery horticulture degree just because I wanted to learn how to grow things. And my grandma was Osa Green Thumb, so you go to her house, there's tons of Hawaiian plants over there and everything. So I started off by just taking cuttings from her stuff and then growing it, and then started buying my own things from other places. And just my last trip to Hawaii, my cousin, I took a couple cuttings, he was like, go get more. So I came back, got like 2 more cuttings. And he's like, okay, that's not enough. He comes back like 20 minutes later, he has like a whole box full of cuttings.
Wow, so now you just have
this huge... all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, I grow like hibiscus. Like, I have several different types of hibiscus, at least 20 or 30 different types of plumeria, lots of different ginger, and I'm also growing kalo, which is taro. So I have a Alooohhha that I made. I mean, it's like manini's about that big. But it's going to grow. And then I have like 2 or 3 different types of guava, pineapple, mango. So basically I wanted to grow things for aesthetic first, like to feel like I'm in Hawaii. Yeah. And then it got to the point like, you know what, if it hits the fan and I want to survive off the land, I want to be able to grow stuff that I can eat and live if I have no money left. So
yeah, perfect. That's awesome. One thing he also does, he also dances. You dabble, right?
Yeah, just got into it about a year ago, like October of last year. No, I think it's October 2017. I got into Alooohhha. I joined Jean Kalani Dancers, and it's like a whole new passion for me. Like I always wanted to do it, but again, that mental blockage, didn't think the resources were there. Yeah. And then it's one of the best things ever. Like, we're more than just a halau. It's like ohana. Like most halau, they're ohana, you know, so.
It's a big family.
Yeah.
For sure. Dancing is probably one of the only, it was definitely the first thing that I had to connect myself to the culture. Especially, I dance with Kalea Onalani. So I've been dancing for a really long time. But after a while, I was like, no, there's still more out there that I can do and be involved in. So that's when I got involved with PIFA and everything else. And with school, I'm trying to study more of the indigenous people side of cultural anthropology and figure out my roots as far as Pacific Islander culture.
Yeah.
So one of the big things Kamaka does, which I love, is music.
Yeah. So a long time ago, I kept playing all kinds of music ever since I was a kid, and then about sophomore year in high school, I picked up guitar, and then I was starting to play Jimi Hendrix, like classical music, all kinds of stuff. And like in college, I did jazz. And so I kept going to my grandpa, like, hey, check this out, this cool new thing. And like I thought it was awesome, like some really hard stuff.
Yeah.
And no matter what genre it was, my grandpa was like, okay, that's nice, my boy, but when are you gonna learn slack key? Yeah. So I'm like, every time I brought him a new song, okay, that's nice, my boy, but when are you gonna learn slack key? And then one day, my grandma's like, hey, the Hui at the Luau, they're having a slack key workshop. Do you want to be a part of it? I'm like, I don't know, who's teaching? Oh, some guy named Patrick Landeza. I'm like, who's that? Sounds like one Howley or something. I'm like, so not knowing who he is, being totally ignorant and young, you know?
Yeah.
And then my grandma's like, I'm like, how much is it? $65. I'm like, okay, I don't have that kind of money. She's like, I'll pay for it. So like,
you're going.
I'm like, well, shoot, I have no excuse then, so I went. And only 2 people showed up, me and Uncle Wayne. And it ended up being private lessons for about 2 days, and so about 2 hours a day. The second day we went to this hotel and had private lessons, and it just became this whole like journey towards learning slack key, because he was just so inspirational. He was so influential, and like he just had this real passion for teaching and preserving the culture, and it's awesome that I got to be a part of that, because slack key used to be only through Ohana, so only if you didn't have like a family member that taught you, then you probably wouldn't learn. And then I think Ray Kanye was one of Patrick's many teachers, and he was one of the first generations of slack key musicians that didn't learn from Ohana. So his story was there was a fisherman that played slack key, and beautiful music, and then he couldn't fish, but he was fishing, didn't catch any fish. Ray Kanye was a young boy, kept pulling up fish. He was like, hey, I'll teach you how to fish if you teach me how to play slack key. No, you're not my Ohana. Yeah. And so he goes, starts bringing him fish, right, every day. He's like, hey, so he's, you know what, I'll teach you slack key. And then he taught him slack key. He taught my master, Patrick Landeza, and Patrick taught me, so it's really cool, yeah.
That's cool. So you're part of the first generation, too, to kind of get that out of Ohana teaching. That's awesome. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of people that do preserve certain aspects of the culture, it was very traditionally passed down from family, and I think now, you know, with how we've colonized and how to come here, it's important to spread it beyond just Ohana. So that's really cool. Yeah,
especially for the preservation of culture, it can't stay in Ohana. Like, you have to pass it on to anyone that's willing to learn. I know there's lots of people that they have that mental blockage. Oh, it's so hard to learn slack key. It's not. You just have to apply yourself. And then everyone says, I love slack key, I want to learn it, but I want to learn like standard but first. I'm like, that's just going to screw you up if you learn standard first. Yeah. So it's just learn slack key. It's not that hard. And I'm one of the resources. I teach it, and I'm reaching out to people trying to preserve the culture as well. I don't want it to die with me. And I found out, not just over here, but in Hawaii. Last time I played over there, the Hawaiians that I was playing in Waimanalo and Kailua, they were saying, slack key for our generation is kind of dying out. Even in Hawaii, there's not too many people doing it in our generation, so that's kind of sad. Like, I don't want it to die with me, so.
Yeah, you have to pass it and just, yeah. I feel like anybody who is willing to take it in should. One thing I grew up with was the belief that, oh, if you're not Hawaiian, like, you don't deserve to learn. Yeah. So kind of that, like, old school mentality, trying to keep it within the culture. But because we're such a small population and we are like, you know, mixing blood, and there's like there's really no excuse for us not to share that knowledge with people, especially to keep it alive. And
then there's also I remember there was an argument that I had. This is back in like 2008 when I was first learning Olelo. Kumu Malulani Odegaard, he told us that, you know, being Hawaiian never used to be blood quantum and stuff like that. That's kind of like a westernization thinking that, you know, if you're Hawaiian blood, then you're Hawaiian. If you're not, then you're not Hawaiian. The old ancient rules of Hawaii were if you spoke the language, you were Hawaiian. So it was based off your ability to speak the Hawaiian language, because Hawaiians believe that the language is the window to the soul, and once you start speaking Olelo, you're opening the keys to your Hawaiian soul. And so it's kind of like, you look at like Spanish-speaking cultures, their architecture, their houses all look a certain way. The music sounds a certain way, right? You go to English-speaking cultures, houses look a certain way. You know, all the aesthetic part, everything is based on the language. So you look at Hawaiian cultures, Polynesian cultures, they're all kind of similar, right? So.
Yeah, very true. So Alooohhha, for those of you who don't know, is the traditional Hawaiian language. The other thing that I'm starting to try to pick up is Oli, so the traditional Hawaiian chanting. Do you have any?
Ooh, I've learned a couple Oli, but it's completely different than singing. My problem is I try to sing it, and you have to really chant it. It's a completely different aspect, aesthetic feel to it. Yeah. But I love it too. It's fun. Like you feel real spiritual when you're chanting Oli, and it's because you're kind of calling upon the gods and your ancestors and really cool stuff like that. I've
noticed every time I've done it, especially if I'm performing with a group, where it's so powerful, and you're right, like it's not singing, which it took me a while to kind of understand the difference too. But when I've done it, like it comes from here, like it comes from a deeper, more rooted place that. You're right, like it's a powerful, it feels like a magical experience, like you are calling upon your ancestors and the gods, and you're way more connected to culture and what you're speaking about. So yeah. Do you have, so we went through everything. Is there anything else?
Not sure.
You have an album coming out, right?
I do have an album coming out. It's titled Alooohhha. So this is kind of a long process because I started, my last album was in 2013. So there's a huge gap. There's like a 5-year gap between I started that album and this album. And then, so there's a lot of difference between what I was playing then and now. But it's been a long process. We've been recording since June 2018 and we're still working on it. So everyone wants to know when it's coming out, but I don't have a definitive answer. But soon, the album artwork will be done by the end of this month. My cousin, Wailani Brown, she's doing the artwork. It's amazing. She has this picture of the ancestor me as a warrior, like kind of a warrior elite, which is really cool because my family is also loosely tied to the royal family as well. So, and then the reason why I titled it Alooohhha because it meant like to move forward with strength, like a warrior mantra. And at the time, I was depressed as hell, and I was breaking up with several different breakups, like really close by, like just short-term relationships. It was killing me. And then I texted one of my buddies from the Halau, and he was like, Alooohhha. And I was just like, holy crap.
Okay. Right.
And it just clicked. I'm like, you know what? Leave the past behind and just move forward with strength. You know, use that warrior spirit and find yourself again and just like channel it and move forward. So that's what the song is about. It's about, you know, love relationship and like not having what you want from the relationship and then just moving forward, finding that inner Hawaiian spirit of yourself and moving forward. So yeah,
that's powerful. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
So now that you brought that up, how you mentioned that you were depressed.
Yes.
We've actually been in contact before, and you said that you would love to talk about depression and mental health. So if you want to, if you're still okay with it. Yeah. Just a little bit about your experience with mental health and how you've picked yourself up and grown out of it.
So I want to say back in 2015, it was like June, I was so depressed that it's hard to describe what being absolutely depressed is, because I basically didn't want to live anymore, and it felt like there was a heavy weight on me, like I could hardly walk, could hardly breathe, could hardly move. And then I'd see girls looking at me, like giving me like, you know, the hungry eyes, and I wasn't even interested, just like didn't even feel like it. I had my favorite food in front of me, didn't even want to eat it, tasted like crap. And then like it's just like the things you love you no longer care about, and it eats you up from the inside. And then I found the only way to actually take care of that is to seek professional help. So, and then so I saw my psychiatrist. He recommended therapy, so I went through therapy. And everyone thinks, oh, therapy is stupid, but I think everyone needs therapy, even other therapists, because my problem was I try to help other people too much. So I have that kind of nurturing aspect where I try to develop people and help them out when they're hurt. And my social worker, my therapist said, you know, it's not your job to fix other people. Like, as a man, you like to fix things, right? But you shouldn't fix other people, and they kind of have to take care of themselves. But you can reach out your hand, you can take the weight off their shoulders, but don't put the weight on your own shoulders, is what he's saying. So, and then there's several things I had to fix in my life, like finding the thing that is special about you. For people that I find are depressed, they forget about those cool things that make them cool, those little things. Like, so I play music. Oh, 100 people play music. That's like the negative, aspect. But then, like, not too many people do what you do. And then, like, oh, I paint things. I do all kinds of really cool artistic things. I create, like, costumes and all kinds of really cool stuff that other people don't do. And then I was in the Boy Scouts. I've done some amazing things in the Boy Scouts that most people would never even do. And, like, so you just draw upon all these experiences that you had, either from as a child to now, that, like, these are all these little tiny things that make me awesome. And, like, you forget that you are an awesome person, and everyone is, and you just have to get past it. Like, so I know one of my friends, he suffers from depression too, and so I had to walk him through that. Like, hey, you went to WonderCon with me in the masquerade. How many people actually get to do that? He's like, yeah, but you made the costume. I'm like, yeah, but you helped make the costume, and we were there. It's like all these little small nuances that to bring people out of the hole that they're in. So yeah.
we often overlook the little things.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, those little things that do make us awesome. A lot of that is just trying to remember and hold on to that self-worth. That's a big part of getting out of that depression. I'm so, like, there's still things that I'm working on within myself that I'm like, no, it's okay. Look what you are doing, not what you're not doing.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And then I'm sure playing and, like, reconnecting with your culture and everything, that helped a lot too, huh?
Yeah. It's very therapeutic playing music and everything, and also being with the Alooohhha. At one point, the Alooohhha was the only thing that was literally keeping me alive, because I was working in retail, and it was just horrible the way people treat retail associates for whatever reason. So you feel like you're a second-class citizen, like you're a modern-day slave, and people just don't really care. Yeah. And then the Alooohhha was like one thing I always came back to, where you are a respected person, and even the Hui, you're a respected person in the community, and then you can't lose sight of that. Like, hey, there's that side of me, the really cool, Hawaiian aspect, that I'm really well loved and respected. And then the other side is like, oh, well, you're treated like dirt. So to me, it came to this long calculation over 6 years of working in retail. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should just quit my job. Yeah. And like everyone says, oh, you can't find a job afterwards. There's so many different ways you can make money now. You don't even have to worry about making money if you're miserable there. Because if you're miserable at a job, it's pointless. And one of my friends told me, do you work to live or do you live to work? So I don't want to live. I don't want to work to. I don't want to live to work. I want to work to live. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So one thing I found about through my therapy is that there's neural pathways in your brain that whenever you feel a certain emotion, it gets stronger the more you feel it. So say you feed into negative thoughts, then that neural pathway gets stronger, and then it makes it easier to feel negative thoughts, and you feel negative thoughts quicker. And so one way to trick your brain into getting out of depression is to trick it to feel happy. So one thing I would do, like, is, think happy thoughts, fake it till you make it type of thing. So I would say my little happy thoughts was like, going off to Neverland, like Peter Pan and everything. I would literally pretend like I was sprinkling pixie dust on me and, like, flying off to Neverland. Yeah. So and sometimes it's a little physical thing that you do. So I'd kind of leap up and go like that whenever. So I was at retail, like I'd be in the middle of work and I'm feeling like shit. People are treating me like crap, and like all of a sudden, boom, I'm off to Neverland for like 10 seconds, and then like. So people are like, what the hell are you doing? And it becomes this funny thing where you just start laughing. It's like, I'm going off to Neverland. They're like, okay, whatever, dude.
Yeah. I love that reference because that's my favorite movie. Yeah. That's my all-time favorite movie, so that's awesome.
And then so that kind of, that was my fake it till you make it moment, like going to Neverland. And then finding those little things that just make you happy, like small things, like, I like messing with people sometimes. Not like pranks or anything, but like, just challenging their way of thinking and stuff like that. Yeah. And then I would also be that guy that goes to see people at work that have this miserable face on their look, and I just be like, you look like the way I feel. And then they're just like start laughing, or then I just crack some stupid joke about something, and then That's something everyone said at work. Like, you know, you're the only reason why I work here because you made work so much fun, and you know, you kept my mind off stuff. You're always cracking jokes, and then you're just this awesome person to be with. And I'm like, okay, cool. And like, it's funny how you can help other people, but you can't help yourself, right?
Yeah.
So then you have to like hold on to like, hey, that's another cool thing about me. Like I can make other people feel good about themselves and make them laugh, and so just building that neural pathway to keep feeling happy.
Yeah. And
then eventually happiness becomes a stronger neural pathway, and then you can just becomes easier to feel it. And then so whenever you find yourself getting into the negative thought mode, just flip the switch, go off to Never Never Land. Whatever your little thing is, whether you have to leap up or whatever physical thing you have to do, just do it.
Yeah. No, seriously, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's really awesome. I love that reference. I don't think I've ever had anybody put it in that light. So I love that you did that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for talking about it. Okay. So he brought his guitar. So we're going to have a little jam sesh with you, because I can't do anything musical. I'm like the least musical person you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to share and spread this video on all social media forums. Thank you, Kamaka, so much for being here. And I'll be sure to post the links to some of his music, and I'll also be sharing your pictures of the garden and dancing and everything else. So thank you guys again for watching, and be sure to spread peace, love, and positivity. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Kuhomeo ka Alooohhha. This is one of my favorite songs. It's on my album Imua. I remember days when we were younger. We used to catch Alooohhhha in the mountain stream. Around the Ko'olau hills we'd ride on horseback. So long ago it seems it was a dream. Night I dreamt I was returning, and my heart called out to you, but I fear you won't be like I left you. Ke aloha, kuhomeo ka Alooohhha. I remember days when we were wiser, when our world was small enough for dreams. And you have lingered there, my sister. I no longer can, it seems. Night I dreamt I was returning, and my heart called out to you. I fear you're not as I left you. Make it aloha, kuhomeo ka Alooohhha. Change is a strange thing, it cannot be denied. First you find you lose yourself, then you lose your pride. Move with it slowly, for on the road we go. Please do not hold on to me, we all must go alone. I remember days when we were smiling, used to laugh and song all night long. I will greet you as I find you, with the sharing of a brand new song. Last night I dreamt I was returning, and my heart called out to you. So please accept me as you find me. Make it aloha, kuhomeo kalu. Make it aloha, kuhomeo kalu. Make it aloha, kuhomeo kalu. Final take, yay!
That was awesome. That was so cool.